So I was on the way to Manchester today to go to the Chappell Roan concert. I haven't even got tickets, but I really wanted to see everyone in their mermaid outfits. So I'm on the platform looking for anyone that looks like they might be going, and I see this big pride flag bag and two guys. So I turn around to talk to them, and one of them is Kieran that I went to school with. So I'm like, Kieran, are you going to the Chappell Roan concert? And tell them what you told me.
That I am opening for Chappell Roan tonight at her concert.
So we're getting ready together, and we're going to go through Kieran's full drag makeup and a few stories along the way.
So I've started with my brows with Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Pomade, using the best brush ever, the KVD 070. White base on my eyeshadow, I've just used my 070 Krylon TV paint stick. And then we're going in with the Mangoes palette made by Mitchell. Learning to do drag makeup has been a trial and error process over the past 8 years, but the best tutorials I've ever had is following Nikki Tutorial's eye shapes, because the way she does her eye shape just really works for my face. The way that my face is structured, the brows need to go on first, because then it all fits in around the brow, whereas the base I put on after I finished all my eyes, because then it all builds up around the eyes, so everything is focused. But everyone always thinks it's one way to do makeup, and there's not. Just put it on your face.
And do you practice a lot outside of performances?
I used to, not as much now, because it becomes like clockwork, but I always try and add something a little different in every time. So whether it's the angle of an eye or different colour, a different glitter, because it keeps it a little bit fresh then. Now this is the holy grail of cut creases for drag. It is Drip Drip made by Mitchell. I love this product just purely because you do that, the crease is pretty much cut. Saves about 20 minutes on a makeup. I used to remove the crease, put a base product down, go over it again. It was just too much. So now we're going in with Made by Mitchell's black liquid liner, just to carve out the shape of the line. I really like Mitchell stuff. It's a good quality product. It's not too expensive, and it's very long lasting. He creates multi-purpose products, so you don't just have to use it in one way. The Drip Drip is meant to be a highlighter, and I use it to cut a crease. The reason that I do a liquid line before I fill it in is because I will raise my eyes up and then I can see where it hits. So
what goes through your head when you're getting ready, when you're doing your makeup?
Kind of have to do checklists. What do I need to look out for today? What do I need to focus on? It's a time where I'm focusing on something, but if I focus too much on things, I start overthinking things. It's nice to have something else distracting me while I'm doing something. Now, Inglot eyeliner is the only gel liner that I trust. It is ridiculously opaque, slips on really nice. I've tried using other products and they dry, they flake off. As this, I could wear it for 12 hours and I don't need to reapply it. The thing is about outfits, you can't find suitcases that fit them in. So IKEA is your best friend. So now, white liners are the bane of makeup. You can never find one that's opaque. You can never find one that doesn't crack. The Made by Mitchell one is the best one that I've ever used, because I only put white. You can see the difference without and with, because it opens up the eye. I remember back in the day when I started drag, everyone had NYX, and the NYX white liner cracked like hell. So you'd have to put it on, put white eyeshadow if you could afford it, or talc. And believe me, I am not putting talc on my face. Best thing to take your makeup off, and I swear by it, if you can afford it, the Clinique Take the Day Off Balm is one of the best. I've used, you can't get it in this country, One Size by Patrick Starr Melt Makeup Mist. You literally just spray it, let it sit for 10 seconds, and then you can just wipe it all off. Do not know why we don't stock it here in the UK. It is weird. We stock everything else apart from that. Believe it or not, the best thing that I use is Beauty Bay's own brand Oat and Chamomile Lipid Face Cleanser. It's a bit like the same consistency of Clinique, but you just basically smear it all over. You end up looking like the moon emoji after, and then in about 2 wipes it's all off. I will always take it off before I leave the venue, my makeup, purely because I like to have that and complete. It's like when people do athletics, you warm up. This is kind of like the warm up. Taking the makeup off is like the cool down. So I don't use mascara because I don't have any real eyelashes because of my alopecia. So it's one thing that I never have to buy, and it's the one thing then when they throw in a free beauty product, they always put a mascara in. When I started drag, I had hair. I've had alopecia since I was about 13, but it was only partial alopecia. Then when I was 22, I had 85% of my hair fall out. Went to the barber and cried and got it all shaved off, and then ever since I've not grown any hair. Smooth as a baby's bum, which is great because I have all this retail space if I ever wanted to do something really creative, which I have done in the past. Best primer in the business, the Professional Pore Primer from Benefit. I use 2 different shades of Kryolan. This is a 2W TV paint stick and this is a 070. What I do is I mark out a triangle either side, around the mouth and down the side of the noses. The highlight is pretty much pure white. So you can see the highlight goes in like a diamond, really. Always choose Kryolan purely because I know it will last all day. If you've got a base that you trust, you rely on that base because you know it will stick all day. The Marshmallow Cocoa Cosmetics by Chloe sponges are the best sponges ever. It's worth the hype. Lots of people as well will wet their sponges. I don't. Your makeup is more likely to shift. I think if you're going for like a dewy look or something for a photo shoot, absolutely. For stage, I don't think it's necessary. Plus the Kryolan, and because of the primer, it's still quite slippy. I prefer a matte finish. I know it'll stick, and if I want the highlight, I can put the highlight on top. With makeup, especially when you start out with drag, you get certain tips of what you should use because it's kind of like passed down in that kind of educational process. Kryolan has always been a stuck to product. Ben Nye is another one, but I find that too creamy for my skin. Stick foundations are better purely because when drag queens are travelling, especially abroad, it doesn't count towards their liquid takes. Back in the day, we obviously didn't have full coverage liquid foundations as well as we do now. Have I tried them? Yes. Do I think they beat Kryolan? No. Kimchi Cosmetics, products designed by drag queen. I bought this tube over a year ago. I've still not finished it, and I do drag 5 times a week. So then my advice is start near your ears and just bounce like a bouncy castle. I find that if I put this on, I look less like a thumb when I'm in drag. What I'm doing now is just going back over the highlight bits because I've obviously put a contour on and you still want a little bit more definition. Chappell Roan mentioned me in a story. Who's on with me? Shanika Sunrise and oh yes. Oh, the girls tonight are good. They're dancey girls. They've picked 2 brilliant performers and I love them to bits. Genuinely thought it wasn't happening, but now it feels like it's real.
It is happening, which is why I'm now panicking and doing my makeup.
So I'll be there. I think it's about 30 minutes the whole show will be. I think we'll be on at 8. Finish at 8:30. I think Chappell will be on at 9. So I am currently putting on powder. So I use 2 different types of powder. I use a white powder, a super white powder from Ben Nye. Put that on my highlight areas. And I also put a little bit here. This is the Ben Nye, but I just use the empty ones because they're great. Kimchi Chic Translucent. You can get it in all different types of shades. This is the lightest powder. It's a rice powder, so it's very fine. You can just pack it on and it won't feel cakey. My biggest tip for anybody who wants their makeup to stay all day. When you've powdered, don't just brush the powder off. Get a powder foundation. I use shade NW22. Get it on quite a dense brush. Brush over where your powder is. Keep your highlight zones there because you put that specific colour there because it just locks in the foundation. Contour powder palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I've used nude eyeshadows before. I've used different shades of bronzer. It's really good for anyone. So I use this angle brush from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's the only brush I own from them. Don't press too hard because this brush is shaped. The fact you go from your ear and it naturally comes off your face where your contour powder should stop. So you're just reinforcing those with powders. If you like specific shades of blusher, yes. Made by Mitchell does the best pans. They're quite buildable. It depends on the shade. He does a really good inclusive line of blusher, so it depends on the pigmentation of your skin. These little blusher books. So I'm using the shade 90s Nude. I like to push the blusher into the eye. It looks a bit extreme at first. I put a bit across the nose That's what I learned from Blue Hydrangea. Favourite drag artists change all the time. I like a drag artist that is not afraid to break boundaries or do something a little bit different, but I also really respect drag artists that are professional, they turn up on time, they do their job good. It's not an easy thing. There are girls and guys, like kings and all different types of drag that have been doing it for years and years and years. If you think that you know better than those older people, you are wrong, and you need to get that in your head. There are people still on the UK scene that have done drag longer than RuPaul, and I respect RuPaul to bits. Even though they may not be the same style or the same art form as you, they have words of wisdom that you can reflect upon for your own craft. When I started drag, my drag mother Cheddar Gorgeous really helped me kind of be a little bit experimental and out of the box, and they are supportive but they're not overbearing. So like if I do something great, it will be like, oh, well done and stuff like that, and have you thought about this and that. And she's a brummie too. I'll tell you the story of how I started drag. I was sat as an assistant manager in a Selfridges cupcake concession, bored and lonely and feeling creatively unfulfilled. So I started creating theatrical performances within my head. There was a kind of like open drag, like Mike night called Cha Cha Boudoir in Manchester, which is where I was born, in the basement of a club at 2 a.m. in the morning. It was one of those places that would have themes, but these performances would be so outlandish. Like we did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we did an all drag version of the film Alien, a Jim Henson night, we did Dungeons and Drag Queens, Star Wars, taking pop culture moments and turning it on its head with its own little drag twist. And that's where I kind of found myself, and my drag has developed a lot now. It's become more of a traditional cabaret style, but it's good to have many strings to your bow because it always comes full circle with the actual fruition of your artistry. To open for Chappell Roan tonight is the most many things in my life. And I'm very blessed to have the opportunities that I am given and offered. This is the most nerve-wracking thing I think I've ever done. To be a small part of somebody's little supernova trajectory within the pop culture, and somebody who really champions queer art and the artistry that people like me do is insane. So I don't do my lips and I don't do my lashes until I get to the venue, because if you're travelling, lashes will fly off. My lash actually sits on the edge of my liner, because then when I open my eye looks really big. And my lips, if I'm going to have a drink or eat something before I go on stage, I'll have to redo my lips, and I like to eat. Last thing I'm going to do, Anastasia Beverly Hills brow pen. I used to use the Ardell brow pens, but I don't think they do them anymore. But these are really good. Hold it at the end, and then you just flip. It just gives another definition to the brow. So I quite like a bushy brow because I can't grow my own. And then the last thing I will do, actually use Made by Mitchell's highlighter for a highlighter. I'm going in with the shade Ice Ice BB. So all you do is just tap it. From my drag mother, never be afraid to use your fingers during makeup. It will heat the makeup to a skin temperature. One thing I forgot to do, white liner. A small heart shape, and I go over the highlight on my nose just with the liquid liner and then go down, tap tap tap. If you feel like you want more definition in your contour, get that lighter powder that you used on your highlight and put it underneath your contour. Just swipe it down. If you want to pursue drag, do it for the right reasons. Don't do it for fame, don't do it for kind of attention, do it for expressing yourself in a certain way, because if you start doing it to think you're going to get followers on Instagram or TV fame or like some kind of like following that you can earn money from, it's not about that. Some of those things come to people that are very, very lucky, but there are people out there that have had long drag careers of 10, 15 years, 20 years. They love what they do, they're not famous on TV, they're great at what they do, they express themselves like throughout their true queer selves, and they just have a great time, and just focus on that. Fabulous opportunity comes along like what I've got today, then jump at it and go with it, because you never know what might happen, and then you can look back and go, do you know what, I had that great time.
Nice.
3, 2, 1. Stunning. Awesome.
So my name is Donna Trump, and we are going to give you a drag show! By the way, I did spot whoever is dressed as a jellyfish. I saw you outside the museum, girl. I did.
Oh, you look amazing.
Gorgeous. 3, 2, 1.